Marriage used to be seen as the final boss of adulthood, where you got a job, bought a car, and found the one. Game complete.
But today, more and more men are taking a different path, with some claiming that marriage is a scam and that they are focusing on their purpose.
You might also hear the classic line about not being built for commitment. But here's the twist, as most of them aren't cold or broken. They're just tired of the constant pressure and expectations, pretending they have it all figured out while still trying to understand themselves deep down.
Because for many modern men, it is not that they don't believe in the concept of marriage. They just simply don't trust it anymore.
You probably know this feeling after working so hard to build your independence, your money, your bod, and your overall mindset to be strong. You finally feel stable, calm, and in control of your life until someone inevitably drops that one particular question about getting married soon. Suddenly, it's like an alarm goes off in your brain as you start imagining losing your peace, your freedom, and your quiet mornings. And maybe you have seen too much, like your parents' marriage falling apart or your friends losing themselves completely in their new relationships. The internet is also filled with men saying not to get married, calling it a trap, so your brain does what it is wired to do. But that protection has a cost, because when you build walls to stay safe, you also end up blocking out any chance for connection. Here is the truth. When a man says he does not want to get married, it's rarely about marriage itself, but rather about control. Marriage often means surrender, not in a weak way, but in the way that says, I trust you enough to be fully seen by you. And that can be terrifying for men who grew up in a world that consistently taught them they must earn love, not just receive it. You see, most men today were not taught emotional safety, but instead they were taught performance, to be strong, successful. So when love asks for simple softness, their nervous system just says error, because that is not immaturity, but rather deep, ingrained conditioning.
This conditioning runs deeper than most men realize, which leads us to what can be called the Iron Gate theory of modern relationships.
Every man builds a psychological gate around his emotions, which at first is built for survival, to handle rejection, failure, and deep heartbreak. But over time, that gate becomes permanent and rusted shut, so even when real love shows up, the kind that is patient and genuine, what happens? The gate does not open, because deep down his brain whispers that if he were to open up, he might just completely lose himself. But here is the paradox. For the same gate that protects you from pain also keeps you from depth, and a life without depth feels hollow.
So the real question becomes how you can open that gate without losing yourself, a process that we can break down into several steps.
Step 1 is to understand your programming. Before you declare that you don't want marriage, you should first ask yourself exactly why that is. Is it because you truly don't want it, or because you don't want to fail at it? Most men associate marriage with a loss of freedom. This belief doesn't come from nowhere, because it often comes from witnessed chaos, as your brain simply wires itself through direct observation of others. By naming your programming, you can stop being controlled by it, because awareness is the very first thing that actually breaks the automation. Step 2 is to redefine what strength means. Modern culture says strong men don't need anyone, but that isn't strength, it is fear. Real strength is being grounded enough to share your truth without losing your identity, choosing both solitude and also choosing to have a connection. Step 3 is to heal the control reflex. When you have been hurt, your mind builds patterns, so you start controlling everything around you. Letting go of that control activates the brain's parasympathetic response, which is the calm, creative state. Step 4 is learning emotional literacy. Most men can describe their car better than their own feelings, but it's not their fault because no one taught them. This works because naming your emotions reduces their intensity, literally lowering the activity in the amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain. Step 5 is choosing growth over avoidance. Freedom is not about running away. It is about consciously choosing exactly where you want to grow. Ask yourself, am I rejecting connection because it is not right for me? Or is it because I'm scared of being truly seen?
That important question activates your prefrontal cortex, the logic center, which turns raw fear into useful
Not every man needs to get married, but every man does need to understand exactly why he chooses the things that he ultimately chooses. Because when your decisions come from a place of fear, they will cage you. But when they come from a place of clarity, they free you. Marriage is not the enemy, and neither is solitude. The real enemy that you are facing in life is simply your own unexamined fear.
That is not weakness, but instead it is wisdom. And so whether you open the gate or keep it closed, do it from a place of peace.